Skill Development Playbook, Season 3, Episode 5. Today's episode, we are picking up on part 2 of the podcast where we were talking about skill development and passing. All right, so real quick, just quick review. We've got 5 passing windows that we discussed. We discussed 5 keys to passing, and then we just finished up 6 passes every player should master. And I tell you, and we still got some more stuff to talk about, so we're gonna keep it rolling. So now we're gonna talk about how to improve a player's passing ability. And I'm not going to get real specific on how to teach particular passes, but just some things to keep in mind. So if I want to teach a player a pass, so let's say, for instance, the over-the-shoulder hook pass. What I do is I tell them the pass that we're going to make, or I tell them the drill that we're going to do. And a lot of times it's some type of penetration baseline. And then I tell them, okay, I want you to make this pass to the weak side. And I show them the pass. If they've never seen that pass or done that pass before, they look at me very confused. They have this look on their face like, that's weird. So we discuss it. But here's what I like to do. I like to just throw them in the fire. Turn the fire up, get that mug to cooking, and just throw them in there and see how they react. Because here's the thing that I don't want to do. I don't want to waste time, energy, and effort breaking something down to try to teach them when the player can pick up on it really quick. And I'm not looking for it to be perfect, but if the player just cannot get it at all, and I mean like they can't do it at all, then we'll break it down. But there's a couple of things that you got to look at. Number one, the player's experience, the player's strength, and their motor skills. If they have the motor skills to make that movement, then they probably can pick it up pretty quick. But if they're not really, don't have a whole lot of motor skill, they're not really coordinated, then it's going to feel awkward to them. It's going to look awkward to them. They're going to make these loopy passes. And then what we have to do is we'll have to break it down. But I like to just throw them in the fire. Just throw them in there and let me see how you do. Then if I see that they're not able to do it, then we can break it down. The second thing on how to improve a player's passing ability, make sure that you teach technique. Okay, make sure you teach technique. I try to be as detailed as possible without giving a lecture. So I want to be as detailed as possible without giving a lecture. So I want to break it down. Hand placement, making sure they understand how to snap their wrist, where to load the ball up. Any of those type things. We talk about proper footwork. If I'm in an individual session, if it's just me and another player, then I have to understand I need to be patient. I got to be more patient with them because it's just me and her or me and him. So I can be patient and I can really show them and break it down more and say, nope, that's not right. Let's do this again. Nope, that's not right. Let's do it. Oh, you almost got it. Come on, you just about there. Oh, that's what I want. Give me 3 more just like that. So I can spend more time on technique. But if I'm in a group, I have to look at it a little bit different because if I have a group of 4 or 5 kids and only one player is not able to get that pass down, then I got to go with the majority of the group. So we got to keep it moving. So if you have a player, okay, and let's say you're a coach of a team, and let's say you got your guards together and y'all are doing a drill where you're working on a particular pass or a particular shot. If you have a player that's not able to get it, then what you should do is you should get that player after practice or before practice and spend 5 to 10 minutes with them on that technique. And then when they get with the group, hopefully they can pick it up. But even though I say you got to be patient with an individual, you got to be patient in a group because that player will eventually be able to pick it up and get it down and be able to execute that technique. But with that, don't worry if it's a perfect pass. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's what I tell players, especially passing with their left hand, if they're right-handed. When they're passing with their left hand, I don't care if it's perfect, just make the pass. You know, if you make the pass to me and it bounces 3 times before it gets to me, that's fine. If you throw the pass to me and it's loopy, that's fine. Because I know if you do it enough and you do it the correct way with the proper technique, then you'll be able to make those passes to meet my expectations. Okay, not your expectation, but my expectations, because there's a certain thing that I'm looking for when you're making those passes. Okay. All right. So those kind of some techniques I use when I'm teaching. But now let's look real quick at ways to drill passing. How can we drill passing? Okay, for an individual, of course, you can pass to your coach. You know, we could talk about the technique, and then I can have that player stand 12 to 15 feet away from me, and they can just make passes to me. Just pass it to me over and over again. I can have them stand in front of a wall, and we can do the same thing. And you can get really creative. You can have 2 balls. When they pass to me, I can pass them another ball. I can have them get a little bit closer to the wall and pass it, you know, real strong passes. So then they gotta work on passing and then catching really quickly. You can have your players start every drill with a pass. So if you are actually drilling shots off of a pin down, I can have that player on the block, and whatever pass that I want them to work on or execute, I can have them make that pass to me before they actually start to drill. So if we're working on pin down, I can set up my cones where I want them to simulate the screen. They can start with the basketball. They can make me a left-handed push pass, and then they can come off of that screen. I throw them the pass. They can catch and shoot. Get their rebound, go back to the block, make the pass again, come off the screen, and they can catch and shoot. Now, if I'm doing something where they are having to do a dribble move, maybe a dribble pull-up or a crossover into a shot, then what I have them do is they can make that pass to me. I pass them another ball at the same time. They catch that ball, get into their dribble move, and then get into their shot. So it's different ways that you can do it. Sometimes you just got to use your imagination and try to think outside the box. Got to think outside the box. Another one that you can do for individuals, and I have some for group that I'm going to talk about, but they're pretty much going to be the same thing. So everything that I'm telling you as an individual, for an individual, you can do in a group setting also. We can drive and kick. So I can have a player start out somewhere on the perimeter. They could, perfect example, the drill I just gave you an example of, they can start on the block. They can pass it. They can cut to the wing. They can catch it, drive it again, make a pass, and then I can have them relocate for a catch and shoot, or they can relocate for a catch and another drive for a layup, or whatever it is that you're wanting them to do. So you just want to try to figure out, how can I incorporate a pass or passes into a drill? And it's good to start it. You can start a drill with the pass, or you can have them make a pass in the drill and then get the ball back for a catch and shoot, which we'll talk about a little bit more in detail here in a little bit. So those are some of the things that I do. And again, you can do those with groups or individuals. So, you know, if you're in a group and instead of those players passing into the coach or to the wall, they can get a partner and they can make passes to each other. But they can pretty much do those same things. So last thing, I told you I'm giving y'all a lot of information today. Last thing, I have 8 additional tips on passing. 8 additional tips on passing. So my final tip, number 1, after the player learns the technique, then hold them accountable. After the player learns the technique, then hold them accountable. I do this with every new skill that I'm teaching. If a player is learning how to shoot a left-hand layup, I tell them, only thing I want to see you do at first is shoot the layup correctly. Use your left hand. Try it the best you can. And once you demonstrate to me that you have learned the technique and you can pretty much do it, you know, without thinking and understanding your footwork, then I will hold you accountable for makes. So if I have a player that's learning a particular pass, whether it's a left-handed push pass or a right-handed push pass, I hold them accountable. So for instance, if I'm standing to the left of a player, they know that every time you pass me the ball, I want a left-handed push pass. If you pass it with your right hand, I'm going to say, nope, go again. Some players will be like, well, what'd I do? I'm like, go again. And they'll pass it again. If it's not with their left hand, I tell them, go again. And then I make them have to figure out what it is that they're doing wrong. And this is just a side note. Here's a really good tip about skill development. When I'm working with a player, I, quote unquote, have all the answers. Okay? So the kid is coming to me. I am teaching them what I know about basketball. So I'm like the answers. I'm the answer. Okay. But I don't want to just give the answers. I want the players to be able to discover the answer. Now, sometimes I can ask them a question. They're like, oh, okay, I was supposed to pass with my left hand. Then other times I have to lead them to the answer. So if we're doing a drill and they're supposed to pass with their left hand, let's say I'm standing to the left of them. They're at the top of the key. I'm on the wing. And they pass with their right hand. And I say, nope, do it again. And they pass it to me again with their right hand. I say, nope, do it again. They're like, well, what am I doing wrong? So what I would do is I would just stand in front of them. And I would tell them to go through the motion that you were just doing to make the pass to me. And then when they get ready to make that motion, they're like, oh, I'm supposed to pass with my left hand. I'm like, okay, well, tell me why. Why should you pass with your left hand? Oh, because if I pass with my right hand, I'm bringing the ball across my body. It's coming across in front of the defender. If they have long, quick arms, quick hands, they could deflect my pass. Correct. Okay. What happens if they don't deflect your pass? That may end up forcing you to make a bad pass, which if your player is coming off of a screen and they're wanting to catch and shoot, that pass that's not on time, on target, could throw off their rhythm, which could lead to a missed shot. Okay? So we want to pass with the left. Always remember ball, you, defender. So just that right there real quick, push that in their head. Okay. It's more to than just me passing the ball to coach. There's a reason for me passing to coach. I'm working on passing with this left hand. I'm working on passing this pass, making this pass on target and on time because I'm going to have a teammate that's going to be moving, that's going to be cutting. And they're going to have to be able to catch and shoot or catch and keep the ball away from the defender. So I got to pass it a certain way. And that's another thing. Sometimes I stand there and I hold my hand up and I say, I show my outside hand. And if they don't throw it to my outside hand, I tell them to throw it again. Because they have to understand that they have to throw the ball in a way that the defense can't get to it. Okay? And we'll talk about that here in just 1 second. All right, so number 2, limit chest pass. I talked about that. I hit on that just a minute ago. We want to use right and left hand push passes because I always want my players to understand situations. They have to understand situations. So if I'm working with a really, really young player, yes, we'll work on chest passes. But when we get into more, I hate to say game-like drills, but when we get to more drills that help prepare them for competition, then we really limit our chest passes because you're not really going to make a whole lot of those passes. Number 3, coaches, one-hand passes are okay. They're okay. There's nothing wrong with them. I know there are a lot of coaches that frown upon one-handed passes, but here's how I look at it. When it comes to one-handed passes, if you have an issue with it, a lot of times what happens is we as coaches, we take the philosophy and beliefs of other coaches. So if our youth coach or middle school or high school coach said, I don't like bounce passes, they're terrible, put 2 hands on the ball. And then you would just grow up saying, well, I don't like bounce passes or one-handed passes because they can lead to turnovers. But I also feel like you have to spend time on teaching that skill or technique. And this is what I tell all my players. I said, in a situation, in my environment is to get you ready for competition. Now, I know the cliche, make practice hard so the games will be easy. But I want my players to be able to do things that's going to challenge them. So I want players to be able to drive it with their left hand and make a left-handed pass without having to touch it on their right. I want them to make a drive with their right and make a pass without having to touch it with their left. Now, here's what I tell them. If you're in the game and you put two hands on the ball and you're still able to make the pass, there's nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with it. I want you to be able to do that. But I also think that we've got to be able to teach certain things. Now, if you're not teaching and your expectation, I just don't want them to do it, I think you're shortening the player's talent. I think you're putting a ceiling on the player. When, in my situation, I work with players, and this is what I tell them. You do what your coach tell you to do. If your coach say don't make one-handed push passes or one-handed passes or no bounce passes, you do what they tell you to do. Because ultimately, that's who you have to listen to. You come to me to get better. So I'm going to teach you that skill. I'm going to give you that tool. So when you do get in a situation or you do play for a coach that allows that, you already have it in your tool, on your tool belt. But if your coach said don't make bounce passes, don't make bounce passes. Don't go to your coach talking about, well, man, I've been working with a skills trainer. He's been working with me on bounce passes. I can make bounce passes. No, you ain't. No, we ain't doing that. You do what your coach asks you to do. But we will work on those things because I feel like it's important to have. All right, number 4, coaches, players, you have to envision defenders. Use your imagination. I know it may just be you and the coach, but you have to imagine that there are 8 other players on the court. Okay, so if you're passing to your coach, you have to envision that there are 5 defenders and 3 other offensive players. And here's what I do. If I have a player drive baseline, and let's say I'm on the opposite wing, I'm on the weak side of the floor, and I tell them I'm going to drift to the corner, and I want you to make a push pass to me in the corner. I tell them, you have to imagine that the defense is rotating. You have to imagine that my defender, even though I'm on the weak side, has at least 1 foot in the lane. You have to imagine that when you drive baseline, that the post player, if there's a post player occupying the low post, they're cutting up to the elbow. And their defender is staying home to try to help on the drive. And the person that's guarding me is dropping to the basket. And I'm drifting to the corner. And you have to make that pass. And then after we make that pass, I have you do something else. But I need players to use their imagination. They have to envision defenders being out there. Because I think if you envision a defender being out there, an actual live defender, then that makes you concentrate on the type of pass that you can make. Because when there's nobody guarding, you can make any pass and the pass is going to get there. But if you use your imagination, then you can, I made a chest pass. I can't make a chest pass. So I want my players to envision defenders. Number 5, teach different passes for different situations. Teach different passes for different situations. What situation will we use a bounce pass? What situation will we use an overhead chest pass? What situation will we use a lob? When will we use a hook pass? So I think it's good for you to teach those passes for different situations, because then those players will kind of get in that position and they'll know, oh, this is the tool I need. I don't need a screwdriver. I need a hammer. I don't need a hammer. I need some pliers. Whatever it is that I need a Phillips screwdriver. I don't need a flathead. So whatever the tool is, I think it's good for you to teach players and let them understand, in this situation, this is the pass you're going to need. This is why I want you to make a right-handed bounce pass. This is why I want you to make a over-the-shoulder hook pass. This is when you need to make a lob pass. So we want to put them in those situations, give them the explanation so they can see and visualize when to make those type of passes. Okay. Number 6, you want to drill reads. Okay. Decision making. When to make passes. When to pass versus shoot. So going back to that same drill I was just talking about, I have a player drive baseline and I tell them I'm going to drift to the corner. If I show my hands, you make the pass to me. If I don't show my hands, you finish at the rim. And we'll work on that because when you're in a game, that's what's going to happen. In a game, you're not going to just drive baseline every time knowing you're going to pass it to the corner. You're going to drive baseline, and then once the defense collapses, you're going to make the pass to your teammate. So that's what I try to put them in. And that works on your passing because now they have to really be in tune to what's going on. Sometimes we put players in drills and they put it on autopilot. We take all the thinking out of it because we tell them exactly what they're going to do. And then when they get in the game, they can't react to the defense. So we have to put them in situations where they have to really be engaged and use a little bit of thinking and being able to react to what's going on. Okay? So give them something where they have to make decisions. Even if it's just you standing in front of them and you holding up a finger, and each finger that you hold up, whether it's 1 is a bounce pass, 2 is a chest pass, 3 is a fake and then fake a pass and make a pass, whatever it is you want to do, just to get them out of the monotony of doing the same thing for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of reps. All right, number 7, the Steph Curry method. Steph Curry to me is probably the best player in the NBA at doing this, at driving, kicking, and relocating. He is probably the best player in the NBA at doing this. He does it so much. He probably gets, it seems like, and I don't have stats on it, it seems like he gets 2 or 3 shots a game from this, where he'll drive, kick it to a player, because typically this is what happens. If I'm guarding somebody and they drive and they kick it out, typically as a defender, you're going to stand and look because you're expecting that person to shoot it. Well, Steph will continue to relocate. And then the pass will come back to him, and he's got an open shot. So with the players that I work on, doesn't matter what grade they're in, what age they are, how good of a passer they are, we work on that. We work on them driving, kicking, and then relocating. And then they get the ball back and they shoot. Now, in the beginning, if you're doing this with a beginner, you may have to tell them where to go. But eventually, you want them to be able to make a pass and then relocate on their own. Now, I always tell them to cut in relation to the ball. So if they drive middle and they pass to the corner, to the weak side corner, then I want them, hey, you may want to go to the wing. Don't drive middle, pass to the corner, and then cut to the opposite side of the floor, back to the corner. I don't want that. I want you cutting strong side somewhere. If you pass to the corner, cut to the wing, maybe to the elbow. So I want them to keep moving. And then finally, coaches and players, it is important that when you are playing and you're getting ready to make a pass, you make the sure pass. The sure pass. The sure pass. The pass that that's going to connect. Don't try to make, we see it in the NBA. Sometimes these guys make these unbelievable passes. But a lot of times just a simple bounce pass, a simple, push pass, all these different things, just keeping it simple is what really ultimately works. So make the sure pass. Don't try to do anything over the top or fancy, trying to throw a no-look lob pass. And, just make the sure pass. So that is it. And this was long today, and I apologize. But I really feel like that you got some really good tips today on passing. I mean, just to recap with y'all real quick, We talked about 5 passing windows, 5 keys to passing. Then we discussed 6 passes every player should master. And we got into how to improve a player's passing, how to teach passing, ways to drill for individuals and groups. And then we even talked about 8 additional tips on passing. Well, that's our episode for today. We appreciate everyone for listening. We want you to follow us on social media. We are active on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @NBNBball. We also have some videos up on Instagram. We have a really good IGTV page where we have some different videos on there. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe, like, and comment on this video. If you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, please be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If you have any questions about anything that's dealing with skill development, please don't be afraid to reach out. I could be reached at CoachTJ@NBNBball.com. And also, if there's any notes that you didn't get a chance to take on today's episode, you can find it on my website at NBNBball.com. If you look up at the top of the page, there will be a tab that says Skill Development Playbook. You click on that, go to the blog, and I have all the notes for you. Well, until we see you again, thank you. God bless.